Hello, my friends, hello, and welcome once again to Stately Von Manor, where Roger and I have returned because it's Wednesday. That means it's Epic Comic Book Wednesday. Every Wednesday, Roger and I will talk about a certain comic book, graphic novel, or comic book subject. Steve Donoghue over on his channel will talk about the same comic book, graphic novel, or comic book subject. It is our world's finest team up that we do once a week. And this week is going to be a good one because we're talking about the Justice League. That's right, the Justice League. DC Comics team of premier superheroes. The world's greatest superheroes are on the Justice League. Except for once in a while, like that time when we had those lame superheroes in Detroit. But other than that, usually it's DC Comics' greatest superheroes. And today, we're talking about the very first appearance of the Justice League. Now, this was very important because the Justice League, this comic book, really changed comics in a pretty major way. We had all of these fantastic superheroes in one team. We hadn't had that before since the Justice Society of America, back in the golden age of comics. Now we have all of these great Silver Age characters from DC Comics in one comic book. And it actually inspired the folks over at Marvel Comics to create their own team. And Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, of course, came up with the Fantastic Four, which they did in their own fantastic way, and created the Marvel Age of comics. So Justice League, pretty important. And I have all of these early issues of the Justice League in this. This is the Justice League of America Omnibus. It was retitled the Justice League of America Silver Age Omnibus. There were 2 Silver Age omnibuses, and then those were followed by 3 Bronze Age omnibuses. And that's probably all we're going to get. I think we should get at least one more Bronze Age omnibus, but we probably won't because, DC's reprint program. But that's okay. We've got some pretty great stuff. And this, in my Justice League of America omnibus, I have the first ever appearance of the Justice League, which actually was not in a Justice League comic book. It was in The Brave and the Bold. The Justice League starred in 3 issues of The Brave and the Bold before they got their own comic book. DC Comics needed to see if this was going to be popular. It proved to be, of course, an incredible hit. Of course it would be. It's all these superheroes in one team battling a fantastic menace. And I'm going to take the Justice League dust jacket off my omnibus because these omnibuses are gigantic and they like to slip around. So the first ever appearance of the Justice League was in The Brave and the Bold, number 28. Now, this is the cover of The Brave and the Bold 28. You see they're battling Starro, the Conqueror. Starro, the Conqueror. We have the Justice League fighting them. Now, we are missing 2 superheroes from the Justice League on this cover. 2 little superheroes you might have heard of called Superman and Batman. Superman and Batman were conspicuously absent from many covers of the Justice League in the early days for no good reason. There were reasons, but no good reason. I mean, if you're going to come out with a comic book like this, put your most popular comic book characters on the cover and put them in the issues. That would be helpful as well. But here we've got The Flash, Green Lantern, 2 fantastic superheroes. Of course, Wonder Woman is one of the greatest DC Comics heroes of them all. We've got John Jones at the bottom there. Oh, and there's Aquaman. And Aquaman is in this too. They let Aquaman on the team. So we've got the Justice League of America, their very first appearance. Now, interestingly, this is not an origin story of the Justice League. When this story starts, the Justice League is already a team. And we have this fantastic splash page where we learn that, yes, Batman and Superman are members of the Justice League. We've got the Magnificent Seven of the Justice League here. And the illustrations in here are all done, all the art is done by Mike Sekowsky. Mike Sekowsky does the art, and he really does a great job. I think he was an underrated artist, frankly. And Gardner Fox, the great Gardner Fox, who wrote a million comic books, wrote these early Justice League issues. And he did a great job. They're very plot heavy. The characters don't have a ton of personality. Their personalities are kind of all interchangeable in these early issues of the Justice League. But, you know, that's okay. And we have our first caption to the Justice League. And what does it say? Foes of evil, enemies of injustice. To the mighty heroes of the Justice League of America, all wrongdoing is a menace to be stamped out. Whether it comes from outer space, from the depths of the seven seas, or springs full-blown from the minds of men. Banded together to fight all foes of humanity, the mightiest heroes of our time battle the menace of Starro, the Conqueror. Starro, the Conqueror. So Starro, the Conqueror is our first menace, the first villain to fight the Justice League. And Starro is a great big flying starfish from outer space. And we first learn of Starro hilariously. The first character we see from the Justice League is Aquaman. Aquaman. And we have Aquaman's thought balloon there. And what is Aquaman thinking? My friend Peter the pufferfish is calling me, and great Neptune! What an incredible tale it is, thought beaming at me. So, Peter the pufferfish, there's Peter the pufferfish right there, brings the king of the seven seas word of this deadly danger to the world. Peter the pufferfish. You wonder if in DC Comics pufferfish have like an advanced society under the sea, and if they all have human names like Peter. Who knows? But Peter the pufferfish plays an important role bringing Aquaman this information. You see, Starro, this great gigantic alien being from outer space, has landed into the ocean, and he found some other starfish, and he's like, hey, little starfish guys, you're just like me. I'm going to give you all of my powers and make you my lieutenants, and together we're going to conquer the world. So Starro gives normal starfish his evil powers. And so now there are 4 Starros. And he gives every Starro lieutenant a mission. An evil mission. And together the Starros will take over the world. So Aquaman learns all this from Peter the pufferfish. Now he only has Peter's word about this whole story, because he hasn't seen any of this himself. Who knows what he was doing? But he had no idea about this alien invading the ocean. He has to go by what Peter says. Okay, Peter, let's hope you're on the ball. So remember, the Justice League are already a thing. And so he sends out his message to the other members of the Justice League saying, hey, we've got an alien invasion on our hands. Let's all get together. Meanwhile, Steve Trevor is making the moves on Wonder Woman. He's making the moves on Wonder Woman, and frankly, who can blame him? But Wonder Woman's like, hey, I have no time for this, Steve. There's an alien invasion. And so she runs off to her robot plane, her invisible robot plane. At the time, she couldn't fly by herself. She needed an invisible robot plane, and it was awesome. The call also goes to Superman, but Superman is too busy destroying these meteors, which are going to otherwise crash into the planet Earth. He's like, hey man, I've got no time for an alien invasion. I've got to take care of these meteors. So this was an unfortunate thing that happened a lot in these early issues of the Justice League, where Superman would just be sidelined doing this other thing because, you know, he's just so powerful, I guess, that Gardner Fox was worried he wouldn't have enough to do. You know, the other members wouldn't have enough to do. Superman would just take care of everything. So Superman always seemed to be sidelined in a lot of these early stories, as he is in this story. So Superman's a member of the Justice League, but darn it, he can't come to work because he's got too much other stuff to do. The Green Lantern also has other stuff to do, but, you know, he makes sure he gets to work. He takes care of his business and he gets to work. But there's Batman. There's Batman cruising around Gotham City, and he gets the call. He's like, I'm too busy to go and take care of an alien invasion. I've got criminals to fight. I'm fighting these criminals. All you've got is this huge alien invasion that might conquer the entire planet. I've got no time for that nonsense. If it gets really serious, then call me. So Batman's too busy to show up to work. What about the Flash, one of the greatest DC Comics heroes of all? I love the Flash. So the Flash is busy fighting a tornado. But you know what? He takes care of the tornado when he gets to work. John Jones, the Martian Manhunter, is on vacation, so he has plenty of time. And so these members of the Justice League that actually do show up to work all go to the cave where they have their base. And it's really awesome. Look at that cool 1960s decor there in their cave. It's really cool. They really did this place up nice. And so the Flash is in charge, and the Flash gives everybody their jobs. He's like, okay, John Jones, Wonder Woman, you team up, you take care of this one Starro lieutenant. I'll take care of one. Green Lantern, you take care of one. Oh, and Aquaman, why don't you just go out into the ocean and hang out? And if you see any other Starros, let us know. And Aquaman's like, golly gee, okay, I'll go out into the ocean. I'll make sure you'll know if there's any other Starros. And they're like, okay, Aquaman, off you go. So Aquaman just goes out to the ocean, while Green Lantern has to take care of this one Starro lieutenant who's flying at a bomber and attacks a bomber. And in just this awesome scene. This scene is just so great. I mean, Gardner Fox was so great at putting these stories together. We've got the Starro attacking the bomber, and you get this great scene where it's bursting its way in with its tentacles, and the bomber crew has to defend themselves, and they're shooting at Starro, and Starro's breaking in and steals an atomic bomb off of the bomber, and of course destroys the plane. So Green Lantern has to save the plane, but while he's doing that, this Starro lieutenant actually explodes the atom bomb. And so we have this atom bomb exploding in the atmosphere. Green Lantern has to protect himself with his ring. Fortunately, all the Starros are absorbing this nuclear radiation to make themselves stronger. And this one attacks Green Lantern, but Green Lantern gets a good shot in, and using his Green Lantern wills the Starro lieutenant to lose all of its power. He has great will, Green Lantern. And so this Starro lieutenant is taken care of and turns back into a regular starfish. Meanwhile, this other Starro lieutenant is kidnapping an entire building full of scientists. It's all part of Starro's evil plan. So Wonder Woman and Martian Manhunter has to take care of Starro, who's literally lifting this building up into the sky. And I was a little worried, I remember, when I first read this story. I was like, I wonder if Wonder Woman's going to be sidelined because she's a girl, or something. But no, she takes a major part in this, and she has to be just enormously strong to do what she does. So she does have Superman level strength, even at this point in DC Comics history, because she basically ties her lasso to her jet, to her robot jet, and basically she takes the building away from Starro and is basically surfing with the building, with it attached to the robot plane. And there's a fire that breaks out, which is no good for Martian Manhunter because his weakness is fire, which is an unfortunate weakness because fire is around a lot. He's not afraid of fire at this point in DC Comics history. It's just a weakness, like it's his kryptonite. But working together, there's Wonder Woman being awesome. Working together, they take care of Starro. Meanwhile, the Flash is going up against the third Starro lieutenant, and look at that wonderful picture by Sikowski. Like I said, underrated illustrator. He does such a great job on this comic. I mean, look at that background with Starro in the sky and everything. It's so great. But what's not so great is in this section of the story, we meet the worst Justice League character ever. It's Snapper Carr, Snapper Carr makes his unfortunate appearance. There he is now. Snapper Carr is working on his lawn and being an ass. So he's a teenage sidekick. You know, the geniuses over at DC Comics decided, we really need a teenage sidekick for teenagers who are reading this comic book to relate to. Really didn't need that, but they decided they needed a teenage sidekick for the Justice League. So we get Snapper Carr. Man, this grass mat is the coolest. Wait till Daddy-O casts his orbs on it. Snap, snap, says Snapper, because he's doing the lawn. But meanwhile, this other Starro lieutenant has the power to take over human beings' minds. So it brainwashes all of the people in this small town, except Snapper Carr. Now, you'd think if they could mind control people that they would have done this right away. I don't know. I'm not a Starro. I don't know how they do things. Snapper Carr, though, is immune to this brainwashing. At first, I thought it was just because he was so stupid. But as it turns out, it's because he's covered in lime, because he was using that on his lawn. Now, I don't know a bunch about lawn care. We do have a gardener. It's a new one, right? Because you ate the other one. He ate my last gardener. But we do have a gardener doing the grounds here. I don't know if they use lime or not. But apparently this is something that is done, at least back in these olden days. So lime, it turns out, you put lime on yourself and you don't have to worry about getting your mind controlled by aliens. Anyway, the Flash shows up, and for some strange reason, he teams up with Snapper Carr, who's completely useless, to defeat this third Starro lieutenant. And they do it. It's all the Flash, really. It's all the Flash is doing. He defeats the third Starro. But Snapper Carr is dancing around, being an ass, and he's obviously a lunatic. But the Flash is like, okay, kid, why don't you join me and we'll team up, and hey, I have a good idea, Snapper. Why don't you become a member of the Justice League? Why not? So Snapper Carr joins the Justice League, and the Justice League, the entire team, all the ones that showed up to work, not Superman and Batman, the entire team, even Aquaman, all get together to take on the final challenge of Starro himself, the actual Starro from outer space. And they've learned that they could use lime. That lime is actually this substance that Snapper Carr has covered himself in when he was doing the lawn, actually can defeat Starro, which is, a very DC Comics science fiction thing to figure out. So they all get a bunch of barrels of lime and they pour it on Starro. And Starro is defeated. And Snapper Carr is now part of the Justice League. And that's the first Justice League story, which is mostly awesome. I mean, you will notice if you sat through this entire video that, well, you'll notice a few things. Excuse me while I have some coffee. It's Batman. He's the one that didn't show up to work. So you'll notice a few things in this first adventure of the Justice League. First of all, the Justice League do not bicker and gripe at each other the way Marvel Comics superheroes did. The Justice League is very professional. They're a very professional team when they get together to do their jobs. At least the ones that show up, that show up to work, not like Superman and Batman who are just too busy doing other things to handle an alien invasion. So the Justice League, very professional. Now, this is actually realistic. I mean, if you've ever been part of a team that is out in the field trying to take care of a problem on the spot, it's helpful if you all work as a team and there's no bickering and juvenile nonsense. You just are here, you do your jobs, you get it done. That's what the Justice League does. They all show up, they've got a job to do. The Flash says, hey, you do this, you do this, you do this. And then they all come together to finish up the job. Very polished professional team, the Justice League. Unlike Marvel superheroes who are like, the Thing and the Human Torch are busy throwing furniture and fireballs at each other, or going off, and quitting the team because they're sulking. None of that was happening in these early Justice League issues. The team was solid. They all worked together. They had a job to do and they took it seriously. Snapper Carr is just inexplicable. There's no sensible reason that I could figure out why you would take Snapper Carr as, your teenage sidekick on your team when he's obviously completely unnecessary and totally annoying. He does have a distinct personality, unlike the rest of the Justice League, but it's an annoying personality. Eventually, DC Comics figured out that everybody hated Snapper, and so they got rid of Snapper. He actually became a third-rate supervillain, if I'm remembering correctly. It was a rather inglorious end for Snapper Carr. But we had to deal with Snapper a lot in those early Silver Age Justice League stories. But that was it. That was the original Justice League story. I've got to go to work now. I will catch you next time.